Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you? I don't really know what to talk about tonight, but I'm in the mood to rant. Woo! Man, I'm in the mood. I can feel it. So this might be a really animated rant. I'm not sure how it's all going to come out because I changed my mood, I changed my attitude, and I changed my mind like the wind. You know, I'm not proud of that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. I'm just saying what is, and that is what it is. So, but I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been wanting for a while to do a video about a college education because I grew up in a family and in a house where the prevailing attitude was like, "Oh, you can't do anything if you don't have a college degree." You know, and it was heartbreaking for me to see my mother at 80 years old, sitting there saying, "Well, I never had a chance to go to college." I'm like, this is sad. This is pathetic. I mean, it's really, I don't know what the right word is, but it's really unacceptable what people do to other people with this mind control and this shackling, right? And these uncompromising, ridiculous, idiotic, stupid requirements. Like you say, if you want to do this, you have to do this. If you want to do that, you have to do that. If you want to make this much money, you need to go do this. You know, it's like, shut up. It's like everybody just needs to shut the hell up. I mean, seriously, you can do whatever you want. You can make however much money you want to make. And you don't have to listen to anybody. And you don't have to do it any certain way. You can do it however you want to do it. I mean, there's millions of people running around that have millions and millions and millions of dollars. And they didn't follow any prescribed, prefabricated, factory-generated, that sound I'm making, it's like a factory dispenser that squirts out some goo on a assembly line, and then it goes through a little heater, and it gets formed into some prefabricated shape. You know, and that's what it is. But all these people run around with these extraordinarily mediocre lives, with these extraordinarily mediocre incomes, with these extraordinarily mediocre accomplishments. You know, they love to go around telling everybody what they have to do, and then you end up with 80-year-old people who are sitting there regretting their lives because they didn't have the opportunity to do what these extraordinarily mediocre people told them they had to do, and if they didn't do it, they would never amount to anything. You see what I'm trying to say? It's sad. It breaks my heart. It broke my heart to see my mother. I mean, she was already a broken person to begin with, but I have no doubt that these fake expectations played a role in her brokenness. Because once you realize you're free to do whatever the hell you want to do, make whatever amount you want to make, and however the hell you want to do it, then, you know, it's like the proverbial 125-pound Thai versus the 2,800-pound elephant. You know, who's in control? That 125-pound Thai, that's Thai as in Thai, Thai, a person who lives in Thailand. The 125-pound Thai is in control because since the 2,800-pound elephant, I don't know how much an elephant actually weighs, I'm just making up a number. Let's just say it's 2,800 pounds. That might be a really big elephant, but like I said, I don't know. So let's just say that a 125-pound Thai person tied that elephant to a stake in the ground when the elephant was a little 400-pound baby, right? And so the elephant psychologically has been conditioned to not believe that he can escape the chain around his leg and the little ridiculously small stake in the ground, right? It's a proverb, right? I mean, it's true. It's a true proverb that that's just the power of psychological control. And you see it, and it's like, wow, it's real. Not only is it real for the elephant, but it's real for people also. And then it's one thing when a person does that to themselves, and we do that. We definitely do that. But it's and there's not a great deal you can do about that except talk to the people and try to help them release themselves, which is tricky. But then it's another thing to see it when people do it to each other, right? I mean, in my opinion, that's something we should be angry about. So what I'm trying to suggest here is that these days especially, I mean, college is just a giant scam. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, nobody respects college degrees these days anymore, except other people with college degrees, right? So it's like the Nigerian email scam. As soon as a person buys into the Nigerian email scam and they get scammed, or they're in the process of getting scammed, they don't know they're scammed yet, right? They're going to angrily defend their belief in the scam because they have so much invested in the scam, right? I mean, if you invest 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 8 years of your life, and you commit the next 20 years of repaying a loan, or you just spend a lot of money or a lot of your father's money or whatever, I mean, you've got a lot invested in that. You're going to be a believer. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. You're just going to become a believer. At least for a good 10 or 20 years, it's gonna, everybody's different, obviously, but there's a certain percentage of the people involved in this scam, the college and university scam, that are going to defend the scam because of their investment in the scam, and also because they're like the 400-pound baby elephant. They've been tied to this stake for their entire life, right, since the time that they were children. I mean, more than one person has made the observation that colleges and universities are no longer colleges and universities. They are now, they have more now in common with hedge funds than they do institutions of education, because that's how much of a scam it is. That's how much money, that's how much of an emphasis on money it is. That's how much of an emphasis they place on money now, just basically with the fees of tuition fees and the ridiculous cost of books. I mean, it's $300 for a book. I mean, it's absurd, right? So, I mean, my take on college is, look, if you want to be a lawyer, forget about being a lawyer. Provide legal services to the community. You don't have to be a lawyer for that. You can start a law firm and you can hire lawyers to do the work. You can be the guy who signs the lawyers' paychecks, right? I mean, if you're a lawyer, there's no guarantee. I mean, if you have a degree in law school, what am I trying to say? If you have a law degree, what that really means is that you're really, really good at studying and taking tests. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you're a good lawyer. It doesn't mean you're good in business, because a law firm is a business. It doesn't mean you know how to run a law firm. Same thing with being a doctor. It doesn't mean you're a good doctor. It just means you're good at studying and taking tests. So, same thing. All of these, I can't really speak to lawyers, but all of these doctors, they're going to work for these networks of doctors, because a network of doctors takes the burden of running a business off of the doctors' backs. And now the doctors can focus on what the doctors went to medical school to do, and that is be a doctor. Now, do you think the guy that owns the medical network is a doctor? He might be. He doesn't have to be, because he isn't concerned with providing medical services, even though that's ultimately what the end result of his efforts does. His real concern is running a business, So I don't know about you, but I'd rather be the guy that signs a doctor's paychecks than a doctor. I mean, doctors are getting beat up and bludgeoned to death these days. I was at believe it or not, I was at a multi-level marketing function, and there was a doctor sitting there. And I started talking to the guy, and my ex-girlfriend was sitting there with me, and she started hitting me on the leg. He's like, "You can't talk to a doctor that way." I'm like, "I'm just being honest with the guy." And I was being respectful. I wasn't saying anything like crazy or, like disrespectful or anything like that. I was saying what I thought was real and true these days. And he turned to me and he goes, "Let me tell you something. 3 doctors walked out of the hospital today. Left. They just gave up." Now, you got to think about that. That's not like leaving your job down at the retail store. That's not like leaving your job, where you're like kind of entry level, or maybe like the manager of some stores. I mean, these guys, what I'm trying to say is, these guys sacrificed a lot to become a doctor. A lot. I'm talking years of study, years of staying up all kinds of hours, years of stress, years of anxiety, years of worrying, unbelievable effort to pass that medical exam. Financial commitments, like we can't even begin to imagine the financial commitment they made to become a doctor. So for them, in 3 in 1 day, just get up and walk out. I mean, that's how bad it is for doctors, okay? And this guy was a doctor. So he's number 4, and here he is sitting in a multi-level marketing company or presentation. So obviously, he's looking for a way out too, right? So every institution in the West is a scam. Everything is corrupt. Everything. Now, where does that leave us? Everything is corrupt. Everything is perverted. Everything is obsessed with money. See, I've come to believe that when Jesus said, or when the Bible said, the root of all evil is the love of the money. The love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't mean a guy makes 50 grand and he wants to make 100 grand so he can do more things have more time to spend with his kids. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean a guy who's making 100 grand wants to make 200 grand so he can take better vacations with his family. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean a guy who makes 250,000 wants to make $1 million because he's gotten really good at making 250,000. Now he wants to try to do more. That's not what it means. What it means is that these people that are sitting on top of these billions and trillions of dollars of industries, trying to figure out and manipulate ways to make more money. I believe that's what it means. Okay? Just normal ambition, that's not ungodly. There's nothing wrong with that. But now the funny thing is, or it's not really funny, it's tragic. It's a tragic irony that the people sitting on top of the billions and the trillions trying to scheme and manipulate their way into an extra billion or an extra trillion or whatever, more control, more power, they put out the talking points, right? That the guy who's making 100,000 who wants to make 250,000, he's evil because he wants to better his station in life. That's the elite that put out those talking points. Because see, what the elite do is they rise to the top and then they pull up the ladders so nobody else can rise up to their level. The proper and the right and the good and the moral and the godly model of leadership, I believe, is the leadership that a bird provides us in a flock. And I'm not an ornithologist, which I think is the right word for a person who's an expert on birds. I'm not an ornithologist. I'm not an expert on birds, in case ornithologist is the wrong word. But I'm not an expert on birds, but from what I understand, this is the way the leadership in a flock of birds works. The first bird who leads the flock, because they all kind of fly together more or less, somewhat, they break the wind, no pun intended. They break the air, the surface of the air for the birds behind them, and it makes it easier for the birds behind them to fly. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not an ornithologist. I don't know that to be a fact, but I have heard that. But the thing of it is that the lead bird has the hardest job because he's breaking through the air, right? So the lead bird gets tired. So at some point in time, the lead bird voluntarily falls back and another bird comes up. And that's my idea of godly, moral, good, right, respectable, honorable leadership model. That's it. But what happens is people become leaders, and like I said, they pull up the ladders so nobody can rise to their level. That's what the whole population control talking point is all about, because they want to control the population because they can see very clearly in their minds that if we let this population get out of control, number one, we're not going to be able to control it because there's going to be too many people. And number two, leaders are going to pop up. Leaders are going to organically rise up to challenge our control, our dominance, basically. So Warren Buffett, that's why all these elites, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Mark Cuban, people whose names we don't even know, never heard of. Like, who's that guy? That's why I like what Rand Paul said so much. Rand Paul said, if we audit the Federal Reserve, we'll find out who these globalists are. We'll find out who these one world government control freaks are. And I guarantee you the Clintons, the Warren Buffett, the Bill Gates, they're right up in there, okay? But somehow or another, just either through organic means or an official, literal agreement, one way or another, the people whose names we know are the people who have agreed to be the public face of these. They're evil. I mean, they're the people. They're the eugenicists who want to control. Not only do they want to control the population in total, in mass, they want to control, like, we have this many black people, this many white people, this many Chinese, this many, Asians, this many. They control all that, and however they do it, they have. I mean, you just got to imagine. I always. It's hard to imagine. It's really hard to imagine, but I try. I really do. I try to imagine what it would be like to be an elite, and I know that my attempts are laughable and they're silly, okay? But I work with what I got to work with. I'll tell you something that taught me a little bit about what it's like to be an elite. A little bit. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so trivial and small. It's silly, but like I said, it's all I got to work with. Here's the thing. I have keyless entry on my car. When I first got this car, I said, what the heck is the point of keyless entry? It's stupid. I mean, it's like somebody's just sitting around trying to think up some way to use technology for no reason. Just for, but now I have keyless entry. And you know what? I love keyless entry. It saves me like 3 seconds. But you know what? You get used to not having to spend those 3 seconds. And then when you spend those when something happens that you have to spend those 3 seconds to do something that took you 3 seconds less time previously, and you're used to it taking 3 seconds less, it seems like a really big deal to have to spend 3 seconds to take a key out of your pocket and stick it in the keyhole and twist it, take it out of the keyhole, put it back in your pocket. It seems like a really big deal. It's not. It's silly. It's ridiculous. So that's what happened. My key fob stopped working, and I panicked. Not really. I mean, I'm talking like microseconds, like a few milliseconds, or maybe a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? My key fob isn't working. And I'm like, man, now I gotta press the button and take the key out and put the key in the key, twist it, put the key back in there. And I said, this is crazy. For my entire life, I used a key to get in the car. This is crazy. I mean, what the heck, man? Why am I having this feeling? And I started to realize, it's like, wow, this is what it's like to be an elite. They have all this stuff that nobody else has. And some of it, or I guess a lot of it, is, infinitely more impactful to the quality of their life than keyless entry is to mine. I mean, keyless entry is like, it's not really that impactful to my life. But nevertheless, I've come to covet it, right? Because it's different. It's unique. It makes me feel different. Literally. I know that if you don't have keyless entry, you don't. I would never have been able to understand. I'm like, I see people with keyless entry. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why would anybody even do that? But you know what? It's taken me 53 years, and I'm just starting to learn this. Okay, I'm not there yet, but I'm just starting to learn. Myron Golden. He's on YouTube, Facebook. He's everywhere. He's a Tampa native. He's a motivational speaker. His tagline is "Trash man to cash man," because he used to drive a garbage truck. Now he's a multi-millionaire. Look him up. He's great, man. He is great. But this guy, so many people have tried to teach me this, and I couldn't learn it. I just couldn't learn it. This guy, I don't know how he did it, but he finally got through to me. He finally got through to me, and he thinks like I think. He's hyper analytical, okay? Hyper analytical. And he's a word guy. I like words, He finally got through to me, and he said that time is not money. Time is greater than money. And he has his whole little presentation, and it was like, just so many people have tried to teach me that, and I just couldn't learn it because I'm a Francophile. I love French culture, and I almost worship the fact that every square inch of a building is meticulously ornate and intentionally placed and designed and obsessed over. You know, I love that. That's my thing. That's kind of my thing, you know? So when you have that outlook on life that you're going to pursue excellence and you don't care how much time is not even a factor. Excellence is the only thing that matters, you know? Then when somebody tries to tell you that time is everything, you're just like, what? I mean, that makes no sense. I mean, it's like, no, it's not actually. Actually, time is nothing. To me, for my entire life, it's like, time really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters to me is doing something well. I don't care how much time it takes. It takes me the rest of my life. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, that's kind of, and that still is my outlook. That still is my approach to things. But Myron Golden has like I said, I'm just learning. He's penetrated the hard shell, which is my hard head, you know. So I'm starting to embrace in very small and insignificant ways. But regardless, right? Getting back to my broken key fob, it's like that's the way the elite think. They covet the things they have, even when the things they have really aren't, in the final analysis, really are not that significant, you know. So now I started out talking about college degrees and universities and how worthless they are, and now I'm talking about the elite. I don't know how I got over there. I got over there somehow. Anyway. I know how I got over there. I was saying the elite advance these narratives. The elite advance the narrative of population control. The elite become successful and they pull up the ladders so nobody can challenge their dominance in whatever field they dominate. There was another narrative that they advance that I can't remember. Let's see. They advanced the narrative that They advanced the narrative that the world is overpopulated. They advance that narrative because it's a means of them maintaining their dominance. But before I was talking about that narrative, I was talking about another narrative. I can't remember. But the elite own these universities and these colleges, right? So when you go to college and get a degree, that little piece of paper, that little shiny gold star with a little embossed seal. Have you ever seen a seal embosser? It's just like a little thing. It looks like it's like a little cheap little aluminum or tin thing that made out of tin or some cheap metal. It's just a little thing that you just squeeze at the handle and it embosses whatever you want to emboss. It'll emboss paper. It will emboss gold foil. I mean, anything. It's just a little thing. You just squeeze it like that. It's nothing. It's just everything is an illusion. You know, that's what the Buddhists say. Everything, and you know what? I don't know exactly. I'm not steeped in Buddhist philosophy, so I don't exactly know what they mean. I don't want to misrepresent my realm of knowledge here. But it makes sense to me what they're saying because everything really is an illusion. Look, if you want to be a doctor, then just start a medical practice and hire doctors. You'll learn about medicine just hanging out with doctors. Okay? But if you want to be a doctor, you don't have to go to college to be. I mean, there's like thousands of kinds of doctors. There's Chinese medicine doctors. There's naturopaths. And, you know, the elite they're like a giant blob. They try to swallow everything, you know? And they live under this illusion that they control it. They don't control anything. You know, the Bible says that in the last days there's going to be some war, like Armageddon, I guess, and 30% of the population is going to die, okay? I have a theory that all of these megalomaniacal, megalithic, giant standardized operations, the universities, the governments, the best they can ever hope to subsume, to consume, to like a giant blob, just take over, is 30%. But see, 30%, the world is so unimaginably massive that when they get 30%, they're happy because it's just so much. It's overwhelming for anybody, for anything. But And so even like in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, you know, the Brave New World, the Google, which is like the equivalent of the Google cities, if you know anything about Google cities, or the United Nations Agenda 21, except that was 2021. So now there's Agenda 30 for 2030. You know, it's all about this blob of human control, elite control, just coming in and taking over everything. But even in Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, he acknowledged or admitted that there's always going to be this stuff on the fringe that they don't control. They just have their little area, which is not really little, it's massive, but it, like I said, my own theory is it's only 30% of what there is. There's all this freedom on the fringes and on the outside, but when you get 30% of the population chanting in unison, man, they think they are the bomb. I mean, that's a lot of people, right? So they think we are the, you know, it's like the Nazis, you know? It's like, we will rule the world, you know? It's like, dude, your biggest delusion is your own insignificance. You know, I agree. If I come and insert myself into your culture, I'm going to be impressed with all the glitterati. You know, I'm going to be impressed with the size and scale of things. But you're consciously failing to recognize the size and scale of the actual world. And compared to the actual world, you're insignificant. I mean, I know you've got to control on information, you've got to control on industry, you've got to control on this, control on that, but there's a lot of stuff out here that doesn't rely, you know, and yes, it looks modest in comparison to what you have, but if you could see it all, which you can't, you would realize that you're just, I mean, you're not that significant, really. So let me just wrap it up because it's getting really long. What the elite have is a system of the elite are huge. Not all of them, because the elite is itself is a culture, and a culture by definition has competing factions and diverse factions. But there is a dominant, a significant portion of the elite, the culture of the elite that is obsessed with satanic ritual sacrifice of people, but children in particular, and part of that is the exsanguation, which is the draining of the blood. Okay, it's a whole other thing. I don't have time for all that. And it's not just the elite, but the elite drive it, because you have to be elite to get away with that kind of thing, right? I mean, you have to have money. You have to what's his name? Eyes Wide Shut. Tom Cruise and the director. I can't remember the director's name. He's a guy from the 60s who filmed all the moon landings and whatever, and famous director. He died like 2 months or 7 months after Eyes Wide Shut came out. But anyway, it's a process. It's the same thing, metaphorically, figuratively, exsanguating value from the population. It's the same thing. This is ritualistic. This is real. So I got to run 28 minutes. It's going to shut off anyway. God bless you. Thank you for watching. I don't even know if I ever got to what I wanted to talk about, but that was my best effort. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Bye.